It was a Thursday, not the kind of day where you expect your life to collapse. The sky was gray, traffic was normal, and dinner was takeout sushi, her favorite, not mine. She didn't even touch it, just pushed the ginger around with her chopsticks and claimed she wasn't hungry. I watched her across the table, her phone lighting up every few minutes like it had more of her attention than I ever did these days. We'd been off for a while. You know the signs. The late nights that aren't explained. The locked phone. The sudden gym membership and new perfume. She said she was focusing on herself. I wanted to believe that. God help me, I wanted to believe it. Her name's Vanessa. We've been married for 8 years. Met in college. I built us a life. Solid, dependable, maybe even boring by her new standards, but real. I worked. I came home. I loved her. I thought that would be enough. That night, after she left for drinks with coworkers, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat on the back deck, just listening to the silence. That's when I got the text. It was from Marcus, our mutual friend, the guy who used to double date with us before his girlfriend moved to Denver. The message was short. Didn't expect to see Nessa here without you. You sick or something? My stomach dropped. I called him. Where exactly is here? He hesitated. Tom's place. You know, that private get-together he throws every year. Figured you were coming too. I wasn't. I didn't tell Marcus anything. Just said, thanks, and hung up. Something snapped into place inside me. Not panic. Not even anger. Just clarity. Cold, quiet clarity. I got in the car and drove. Tom was my best friend. We'd been through everything together. High school. College. He was the best man at my wedding. The guy who helped me move 3 times and never complained. The guy who held my head up after my dad died. And as I pulled up to his place, heart thudding like a drumbeat in my chest, I had a sick feeling that I already knew. The music was low, the lights were dim, and I walked in like I belonged, because once I had. No one stopped me. People smiled, nodded, and then I saw her. Vanessa, on the couch, straddling Tom, laughing into his neck like a teenager. Her dress hitched up, his hands roaming her like he'd done it 100 times before. She didn't even notice me until I was standing right in front of them. He froze. She didn't. She looked at me like I was a stranger who'd walked into the wrong room. You weren't invited, she said, smoothing her dress like it mattered now. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. I looked at Tom, my best friend. His face was blank, except for a flicker of something I couldn't quite name. Guilt? Pride? Doesn't matter. What the hell is this? I asked. I wasn't shouting. My voice came out low, cracked. Not angry, just broken. Vanessa tilted her head and smirked. Oh, come on, she said. Don't be dramatic. I blinked. Don't be what? She stood up, fixed her dress, and took a sip of someone's wine like we were just talking politics. There's nothing wrong with having an occasional affair with your best friend, she said, her tone bored, like I was the one being unreasonable. And that was it. Not I'm sorry. Not it's not what it looks like. Just that. And the party kept going. People pretended not to stare. Music played. Ice clinked in glasses. Tom looked down at his shoes like maybe he felt something. But I didn't. I didn't feel a damn thing. I walked out into the cold, my fists clenched, my breath fogging the night air. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just stood there. And in that moment, I knew something for certain. That night, something inside me died, and something else was born. We didn't speak on the drive home. She rode in the passenger seat like a stranger catching a ride, not my wife of 8 years. Not the woman I once wrote letters to when we were broke and in love. She scrolled her phone, her face lit by that cold blue glow. I kept both hands on the wheel, knuckles tight, jaw locked. When we got home, she went straight upstairs, humming, like she'd just wrapped up a night at a movie with friends. I stood in the kitchen, staring at her half-empty wine glass from before she left. The silence in the house wasn't peaceful anymore. It was surgical, clean, sterile, like a morgue. I followed her up eventually, not to fight, but to ask the question every betrayed man asks, even when he already knows the answer. Why? She looked up from the mirror, wiping off her lipstick with slow, practiced fingers. Don't do this, she said, like I was the one starting trouble. It's not like we were happy. You've just been going through the motions for years. Admit it. I laughed. Not the good kind. And your solution to that was Tom? Her eyes narrowed. Tom listens to me. He doesn't treat me like wallpaper. That hit like a hammer. She knew exactly where to swing. I could have argued. I could have begged or screamed or asked for details like some wounded animal trying to piece together the moment it got shot. But I didn't, because I saw it now. I saw all of it. The gym schedule that never matched up with her stories. The late-night strategy meetings. The new lingerie she claimed was on sale, but never worn around me. The way she stopped reaching for my hand at the movies, like that small gesture cost her too much. It wasn't sudden. It was erosion. Quiet. Patient. And by the time I noticed the damage, the whole damn bridge had collapsed. That night, I lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling. She slept like a baby. No guilt. No tossing or turning. Just soft breaths and dreams she didn't invite me into. I wasn't angry in the way most people think. Not loud. Not violent. Just hollowed out. Like someone had scooped everything good out of me and left the shell behind. But something was waking up in that emptiness. A new version of me. Something sharper. Colder. She wanted to make me feel small. Unworthy. Forgettable. She would learn that I don't stay forgotten. I started remembering things I'd buried, like how she laughed a little too hard when Tom was around. How she never wanted to host game nights anymore. How she used to complain about Tom's exes, then suddenly started dressing more like them. All of it added up, like breadcrumbs leading straight to the betrayal I never wanted to find. I didn't sleep that night. I just watched her. Her breathing. Her mouth twitching in sleep. I wondered if she was dreaming about him. That's when the first thought crept in. Not revenge. Not yet. But something close. A desire. Not to hurt her. No, that'd be too easy. Too obvious. I wanted her to feel it. The slow unraveling. The uncertainty. The moment when the ground shifts under your feet and you realize, too late, that the person you've underestimated is no longer the man you married. I wanted her to see it in my eyes one day and wonder when the switch flipped. When the man who once brought her breakfast in bed became the man who could burn her whole world down with a smile. That night, I got out of bed around 4 a.m. and made a cup of coffee. Strong. Black. I sat at the kitchen table with a notepad and pen. Not because I had a plan, but because I knew one was coming. And when it did, it wouldn't be impulsive. It wouldn't be petty. It would be something she'd never forget. Weeks passed. If you looked at us from the outside, you'd think we were healing. We still went to dinners. Still attended birthdays. We even smiled for pictures. But behind the curtains, our home had become a Cold War zone. No bombs, just silence and strategy. I didn't leave. And that confused her. She expected a suitcase. A slammed door. Tears, maybe. Some broken dishes to sweep up before her next date with Tom. But I stayed. I kissed her on the cheek before work. I asked if she needed anything from the store. I even made her favorite pasta one night. Used the good Parmesan. She ate in silence. Let her think I was broken. Let her think I was trying to win her back. Truth is, I wasn't staying out of weakness. I was staying because leaving would have been mercy. And I wasn't ready to give her that. It was during one of those fake dinner nights that the idea first came. She was showing me photos on her phone, pictures from brunch with her girls. Her so-called sisters. They smiled like life was perfect. I knew all three. Knew them well. Erica, the wild one. Laughs loud, drinks harder. She once cornered me in the kitchen at a New Year's party and whispered, "If you weren't married to my best friend." Marissa, the poised one. Polished, quiet, dangerous in a slow burn kind of way. Always looks like she's keeping secrets. Her eyes lingered too long every time she hugged me goodbye. And Danielle, sweet, loyal, always playing peacemaker. She once called me the only real man left, after one too many glasses of red wine. They adored Vanessa. Worshipped her, even. She was their star, their alpha. And they trusted me because she trusted me. And that's when the seed was planted. What if I didn't just punish her? What if I dismantled her world? Piece by piece. Starting with them. I wouldn't force anything. Wouldn't manipulate feelings that weren't already there. I didn't need to. The cracks had always been there. Soft glances, lingering hands, laughter that stretched a little too long. I just needed to lean in. Let nature do the rest. The idea thrilled me in a way I'm not proud to admit. Not because I wanted them, not really, but because it would destroy her. Not with noise. With erosion. Like she did to me. I started paying attention. Casual questions over breakfast. "Hey, isn't Marissa seeing someone?" "She broke up with Kyle," Vanessa said, not looking up from her phone. "He couldn't commit." "Oh, shame. She's a catch." She didn't respond. I began helping with party planning. Offering rides. Sending group messages to support Vanessa while secretly reading how they each ticked. I studied them the way an engineer studies stress points on a bridge. Everyone has a weakness. You just have to know where to press. I found out Erica had just been ghosted by a guy she was serious about. Marissa had doubts about her job, tired of being a corporate ghost. Danielle? Her husband worked overseas now. She was lonely, starving for attention but too proud to say it. Vanessa didn't notice what I was doing. She thought she had one. Thought I was beaten. She even started getting playful again, wearing perfume, sitting closer. I played along, smiled, touched her back in passing, let her believe the fantasy that she still had control. But at night, when she rolled over and sighed like sleep was something earned, I stared at the ceiling and imagined it all unfolding. This wouldn't be fast. It would be art. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to take her apart, using the very people she trusted to hold her together. And when it was done, she would never look at a brunch table the same again. One by one, I would take away everything she thought was hers. If this were a movie, Emma would have been the soft light in the middle of all the darkness. The kind of woman you lean on when the world turns cold. Sweet. Vulnerable. Open. The kind of person who still believes people are mostly good. That's what made her the perfect beginning. Emma was the first. Not because she was easiest, but because she was already halfway there. Newly divorced. Still tender. Still raw. Her ex had run off with a Pilates instructor and left her the house, the mortgage, and a closet full of his broken promises. She smiled through it, sure, but it didn't reach her eyes. She and Vanessa had been close since college, maid of honor close. Emma even helped us pick out our wedding china. And when I reached out one afternoon, asked if she had time for coffee, her response came almost instantly. Of course. Always. What's going on? We met at a quiet spot across town. No mutual friends, no risk. She hugged me long and tight, that kind of embrace that says whatever this is, I've got you. I just needed someone to talk to, I said, lowering my eyes just enough to suggest a man holding himself together by thread. She touched my hand. Of course, Evan. Whatever you need. And so I told her. Almost everything. I told her my wife had cheated. That our marriage was a shell. That I didn't know how to be angry because I still woke up some mornings hoping it was a bad dream. I didn't tell her who it was with. That omission was intentional. She filled in the blanks herself. That's awful, she said, eyes welling. You didn't deserve that. I stayed quiet. Let the weight of it hang in the air like fog. We met again the next week. And the week after that. It started with coffee. Then wine. Then dinners that stretched late into the night. She'd talk about her divorce. Her loneliness. Her fear that she was unlovable. I mirrored it back. Soft empathy, shared glances, little touches. I became what she needed, and in return, she gave me her trust. One night, as we sat on her couch, the wine half finished, she leaned her head on my shoulder. I wish my ex had half your heart, she whispered. I turned to her slowly. He didn't deserve you, I said. She kissed me first, and I let her. It wasn't lust. It wasn't revenge. It was deeper than that. Like we were both trying to prove we still mattered. The way her hands clung to my back. The way her breath hitched when I whispered her name. It was messy, honest, human. And yes, I recorded it. Not for pleasure. Not even for leverage. Just insurance. A copy of the truth, sealed away in a locked folder on a drive no one knew existed. Afterward, we lay tangled in silence. She traced her fingers over my chest. I'm sorry, she said softly. For what? For needing this. For making it about me. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. I kissed her forehead and pulled her close, already replaying Vanessa's voice in my head. There's nothing wrong with having an occasional affair with your best friend. Right? She said that like it was casual. Disposable. Forgettable. Well, Emma wasn't forgettable. Not anymore. And this wasn't casual. This was step one. The next morning, I left quietly. I didn't ghost her. I wasn't cruel. I texted later. Something warm, vague, hopeful. Let her think it was the beginning of something. It wasn't. It was the beginning of the end. If Emma was the warm-up, Lana was the fire. She always had that spark, loud, spontaneous, a magnet in heels and red lipstick. Vanessa used to call her the fun one, like she was a human vacation. I always found her entertaining in small doses. But now, I saw her differently. Now I saw opportunity. Lana wasn't mourning a breakup. She was bored. Bored with her boyfriend. Bored with routine. Bored with polite dinner parties and checking in texts from a guy who couldn't hold her attention for longer than a cocktail. What she wanted, what she craved, was tension, risk, A taste of something dangerous. And that's exactly what I gave her. I didn't go to her like I did with Emma. I didn't open up. I didn't pretend to bleed. No, with Lana, I was different. I was the guy her mother warned her about. I started with a message. You always were trouble. Thought I'd finally see if it was true. She replied within 10 minutes. Careful, Evan. I bite. We met at a rooftop bar downtown. Dim lights, too loud music, and a view that made even bad decisions feel cinematic. She wore a black dress and that knowing smirk, the one that says she's already imagined what's going to happen and decided not to stop it. You've changed, she said, sipping something neon. Maybe I finally stopped pretending. She laughed. I like this version of you. We danced. We drank. We didn't talk much. Didn't need to. Lana wasn't there for conversation. She was there for chemistry. And when she leaned in on the elevator ride down, her perfume dizzying, her voice low in my ear, my place is closer. I didn't hesitate. That night wasn't slow or tender. It wasn't about connection or comfort. It was about heat, control, reclamation. She called me bad news between gasps, and I let her believe it. She fell asleep with her legs tangled in mine, her arm draped across my chest like she'd claimed something. But I was already thinking 2 moves ahead. By noon the next day, I had her lipstick on my collar, her scent on the passenger seat, and a text from her that I didn't bother to hide. Last night was dangerous. Let's do it again. And so I left it open, right there on the kitchen counter, next to the keys, right where Vanessa would find it. Later that night, I accidentally brought home Lana's brand of perfume in a shopping bag, claimed the cashier must have swapped it by mistake. And when I went to the gym, I left a red hair tie in the car cup holder, plain as day. Vanessa noticed. Of course she did. She didn't say anything at first. Just watched me more closely. Smelled my clothes when I walked past. Checked my phone when she thought I wasn't looking. I played it cool. Played it innocent. Kissed her cheek. Asked how her day was. Picked up her dry cleaning. The irony was delicious. She, the woman who once told me affairs were no big deal, now pacing in the kitchen, staring at my phone like it was a ticking bomb. At dinner, she asked, you seem different lately. Different good or different bad? I replied, casual. She paused. Just different. I smiled. Maybe I'm just finally putting myself first. She didn't know what to say to that, but I could see it in her eyes. Doubt. The same seed she once planted in me, now growing, twisting, cracking the polished surface of her perfect world. And I wasn't done. Not even close. Jade was the crown jewel of Vanessa's life. Her soul sister, as she called her. Friends since kindergarten. Matched tattoos. Matching photo albums. She knew every secret, every scar. If there was one woman Vanessa truly loved without conditions, it was Jade. That's why I saved her for last. Not because she was easy. Because she was sacred. Jade wasn't like the others. She wasn't flirty like Lana, or soft like Emma. She was principled, grounded. The kind of person who volunteers on weekends and still sends handwritten thank you cards. She once told me, years ago, if Vanessa ever did something truly awful, I'd still choose her. She's my sister. So I knew the only way to crack Jade was to make her think Vanessa had already chosen someone else. That's where the real work began. I created a burner number, nothing traceable. Used it to send short, surgical messages. No context, just implication. You should hear what she really says about you. Ask her about what she told Erica last month. She's not the friend you think she is. I gave it time. Let the seed grow. Then I sent the final blow. A screenshot, doctored, but believable, of a message chain between Vanessa and Lana. In it, Vanessa mocked Jade's trust issues and called her emotionally needy. I kept it vague enough to dodge proof, but pointed enough to break trust. The next evening, Jade texted me. I know this is strange, but do you have time to talk? I answered immediately. We met at the park near her place. She wore a hoodie, no makeup, and eyes red from tears. It didn't feel like a seduction. It felt like a eulogy. She's been distant with me, Jade said quietly. I thought it was in my head. But then, these messages started coming. I don't know who to believe anymore. I didn't lie. I just let her hurt. She's changed, I said gently. You're not crazy. Jade looked away. I don't want to believe it. I nodded. I didn't want to believe it either. It became routine after that. Late night calls. Long walks. Shared silences. I never made a move. Never crossed a line. Until she did. It happened on her couch after one too many glasses of white wine and too much pain bottled up in her chest. She leaned into me, not looking for passion, but comfort. And when her lips met mine, soft and hesitant, I kissed her back. Slow, careful, honest. Because this wasn't conquest. This was surgery. It took weeks before we slept together. By then, it wasn't about revenge. It was something stranger, almost tender. Like two broken people clinging to a raft made of betrayal. And I didn't record this one. Not Jade. I couldn't bring myself to reduce it to data. I didn't want evidence. I wanted the memory. She whispered afterward, "I'm sorry." And I said, "You don't have to be." She believed me. Of course she did. She didn't know that while she slept soundly in my arms, Vanessa was downstairs in our kitchen, scrolling through texts and quietly unraveling. I'd left my phone out again. Another Lana message. Not explicit, just enough to twist the knife. Vanessa said nothing the next morning, but her silence was louder now. Sharp, breathing suspicion with every glance. She was losing her grip, losing sleep. And I had one final move to make. By now, the pieces were already on the board. Every player moved exactly where I'd nudged them. One kiss, one message, one carefully timed lie at a time. It was time to flip it, to pull the curtain back. I wasn't interested in yelling or gloating. That wasn't the point. This wasn't about noise. This was about clarity. I gathered everything. Every whispered text. Every late-night photo. A few choice video clips, nothing explicit, just enough to make the context undeniable. The sigh of a name in the dark. A moan cut short by a soft shhh. I printed it all. Bound it neatly, like a wedding album from the underworld. Each woman had a chapter. Emma, wrapped in sheets, her voice tender and broken. Lana, wild and smiling, lipstick smeared across my throat. Jade, just her bare back in the moonlight, head tucked beneath my chin. No labels. No notes. No threats. I placed it all in a plain envelope. No return address. Then I mailed it. To her office. Because of course I did. She opened it during her lunch break, surrounded by glass walls and polite coworkers. They say betrayal feels like a blade. I made sure she knew what it felt like to bleed in public. That night, I came home to broken glass. She stood in the living room, red-faced, wild-eyed, holding the envelope in one hand, the printed photos in the other. "You sick, vindictive bastard," she screamed. I calmly set my keys down. "You think this proves something?" she hissed. "That you're a man now? That this makes you powerful? You're pathetic." She was shaking, pacing. She was finally feeling it. I looked at her, really looked at her, and spoke with a voice steady as steel. "There's nothing wrong with having an occasional affair with your best friend." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. So I kept going. "You said it like it was nothing. Like it was normal. Like I should have thanked you for the experience." "That was different," she snapped. "No," I said. "It wasn't. You were careless. Cold. You humiliated me and expected silence in return. I never expected." "You never expected me to fight back," I interrupted. "You thought I'd stay broken. Stay quiet. Just like every other man who gets gutted and called dramatic for bleeding." She stepped closer, the photos trembling in her hand. "You slept with my best friends." "No," I corrected. "They slept with me." That landed. I saw it in her eyes. Not just pain. Not just rage. Humiliation. Because it wasn't just infidelity, it was trespass. Her inner circle. Her sanctuary. Her confidants. One by one, taken from her while she smiled through brunch. "You ruined everything," she whispered. "No," I said. "I gave you back what you gave me. Emptiness. Doubt. That constant ache in your chest when you wonder who's lying to your face." She sat down. Hard. Like her knees couldn't hold her anymore. She looked around the room like it had changed, like the walls were suddenly unfamiliar. Maybe they were. Maybe now they looked the way I'd seen them all along, polished on the surface, rotting underneath. And for once, she had nothing to say. No smirk. No dismissive wave. Just silence. Her world wasn't shattered. Not yet. But I had cracked the glass. It didn't take long. Whispers, once polite and distant, grew teeth. Emma stopped returning her texts. Lana blocked her on everything but still liked one of my photos a few days later, just to be seen. Jade, true to her nature, wrote her a long, emotionally tangled message that ended with, "I can't even look at you right now." Vanessa read that one at the kitchen table. Then she cried. Not the loud kind. Not the performative sobbing she used when she wanted sympathy. No, this was quieter. Private. She held the phone like it was burning her hands, then dropped it into her lap and stared at the wall like the paint had betrayed her too. Her whole body folded inward, shoulders slumped, nails picking at the sleeve of her sweatshirt. I stood in the hallway, just watching. She didn't know I was there. I didn't say anything. I just watched her fall apart in real time, like a building I'd spent months studying and rigging, now finally crumbling under its own weight. Her friends weren't just her friends. They were her image, her armor, her mirror. They made her feel adored, admired, envied. Now, they barely looked at her in public. When they did, it was behind sunglasses, through thin smirks, with pity or shame or both. The brunch group stopped meeting. Her phone stayed dark. And when she passed people in town, she moved faster, shoulders tight, eyes a little too alert, like she was walking through landmines. At home, she was silent. No more perfume. No more midnight texts to Tom. She wore sweatpants now. Forgot to put on mascara. The woman who once scolded me for not ironing my shirts was now eating cold cereal at 4 p.m. with a spoon that didn't match the bowl. And I sat across from her, day after day, drank my coffee, folded laundry, read the paper, like nothing had happened. But something had. Everything had. And in that stillness, I started asking myself a question I hadn't dared ask until then. Did I win? Was this what victory looked like? This broken woman across from me, hollow-eyed and hunched over her phone, replaying her own downfall? There was satisfaction, sure. A cold, precise kind. The kind you feel when the math checks out, when every move you made landed exactly where you planned. But beneath that, something else. Hollow. Like I'd built the perfect trap and walked into it myself. Because the man who watched her cry from the hallway wasn't the man she betrayed. He was something new, something darker, something I wasn't sure I could undo. But I didn't stop. I didn't comfort her, didn't soften, didn't offer forgiveness or closure or even a well-earned insult. Because even if I couldn't recognize myself in the mirror anymore, I knew one thing. She did. And that look on her face when she saw me now, not as the man she married, but the ghost of the man she made, that was enough. For now. We weren't married anymore, not in any way that mattered. We were co-combatants. Two people living in the same house, speaking in clipped phrases, moving like shadows around each other. There were days we didn't exchange a single word. And then there were nights when the quiet snapped and everything came pouring out. You're sick. No. I'm just finally speaking your language. You ruined my life. You handed me the match. The fights weren't about who was right. That had been buried months ago under all the broken trust and hollow victories. Now it was about volume, tone, winning the hour, the minute, the second. One Sunday, we went to a couple's dinner party. Some work friend of hers from years back. I didn't want to go. Neither did she. But we both showed up, dressed to play the part, knowing full well we'd be seated next to couples who still smiled with their eyes. People noticed. They always do. The fake laughter. The awkward silences. The way we barely touched, barely looked at each other unless it was a glance sharp enough to cut glass. By dessert, the tension was thick enough to slice. Everything okay with you too? Someone finally asked. Vanessa forced a smile that could have passed for a wince. We've had a complicated year. The table chuckled politely. I didn't. I just looked at her and said, complicated's a word for it. It got quiet after that. When we got home, we didn't fight. We didn't speak. She went upstairs. I poured a drink. The walls were loud with silence. The next morning, Tom showed up. The man who set this whole damn thing in motion. I heard the knock, opened the door, and there he was, my former best friend. Dressed too clean, eyes too red. You happy now? He asked before I could say a word. You got what you wanted. You nuked her life. I leaned against the doorframe. Not just hers. You think this makes you a man? Getting off on tearing everything down? You destroyed her. I took a slow sip from my coffee mug. You destroyed me first. He scoffed. You could have walked away. Been the bigger person. Yeah, I said. But instead, I chose to be the equal person. He stepped forward. Everyone's talking. People are saying things about her. About me. Even my job's on the line. Emma won't talk to me. Lana blocked me. Jade told me to lose her number. I smiled. Not big. Just enough. Sounds like justice. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Maybe he didn't. Hell, maybe I didn't either. You think you're the only one bleeding? He asked, voice lower now. You lit the fire, Evan. But it's burning everything. Including you. He wasn't wrong. Not entirely. He left after that, muttering something under his breath, like he wanted to land one last punch but couldn't find the words. I closed the door, stood there in the quiet, and let it settle. Because he was right. I was burning too. My sleep was fractured. My stomach constantly tight. Even in moments of calm, I felt the heat just beneath the surface, like I was made of dry grass and the wrong word might spark me into flame. But I didn't stop. Couldn't. Because if I let go now, all the pain, all the manipulation, all the planning, it would have been for nothing. And I couldn't let it be for nothing. So I kept burning. Because fire, after all, doesn't think. It just consumes. It didn't happen all at once. There wasn't some dramatic crescendo, no violin strings or thunderstorm. Just a slow crumbling. Vanessa stopped pretending first. The defiance drained out of her like water from a cracked vase. One morning, she stood in the doorway of the kitchen, hair unbrushed, voice small. "I miss us," she said. I didn't look up from my coffee. A week later, she tried again. Sat across from me at the dining room table, that same table we once ate anniversary dinners on. "I made mistakes," she whispered. "You made choices," I replied. Eventually, she said the words I'd been waiting for. "Please forgive me." But her eyes gave her away. She wasn't sorry for the affair. She was sorry for the aftermath. Sorry she had nothing left. No friends. No fallback. No one to stroke her ego or retweet her curated pain. She hadn't lost me. She'd lost everyone else. That's when I knew. She wasn't broken by guilt. She was broken by exile. And I wasn't done. So I delivered the final blow. I compiled everything, again. The affair with Tom. My nights with her 3 closest friends. The timeline. The proof. Photos, messages, videos. It wasn't sensational. It wasn't vulgar. Just surgical. Precise. The story behind the whispers, neatly packaged. And I sent it, privately, to every mutual friend. Every colleague she still clung to. Every person whose opinion she thought she still held in the palm of her hand. No commentary. Just the truth. The result? Swift. She was removed from group chats. Her phone buzzed for hours, then went silent. Invitations dried up. Support disappeared. Her social media became a wasteland of quiet unfollows and dead comment sections. People didn't want to be near her anymore. Because betrayal spreads. It stains. And no one wants to stand too close to the guilty when the lights come on. Dear viewer, thank you for your invaluable viewing. We will be very grateful for your likes, subscriptions, comments, and sharing our story. See you soon.